Okay, sorry. There's a little bit of changes here and there. Okay, first we'd like to invite our, we are honored to invite our speaker today. Okay, she is a renowned detox expert and she's here all the way from Canada. Let me share a little bit about the speaker before we invite her on the stage. She is a nutritionist from Canada, registered holistic nutritionist. She practices energy medicine, a regular guest speaker on radio and TV shows in Canada. She has published over 100 health-related articles in magazines and on social media. Let's put our hands together and welcome Miss Caroline Papua.
Good morning. Morning. I've learned that being over here that you say good morning and not good evening. So I've had an amazing time so far. I was in Kuala Lumpur for the past 2 nights doing this lecture, and it's so exciting seeing how excited that all of you are. So as mentioned, I'm Caroline Barker. I'm all the way from Canada. And I'm just honored to be here. So I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to me talk about cleansing and detoxification. So I just want to mention a little bit about how did I get here? How do I end up being here in front of you today? And a lot of it comes from this quote. I found that every single successful person I've ever spoken to had a turning point, and a turning point was when they made a clear, specific, unequivocal decision that they were not going to live like this anymore. Some people make that decision at 15, some make it at 50, and most never make it at all. So for me, I was sick and tired all the time. And the doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And I was falling asleep on conference calls that I was conducting. It was very embarrassing. And I was craving sugars all the time. And I wasn't sleeping well, and I had gas and bloating. And a friend of mine said, you have what's called candida. And I thought, that's funny, what's that? It sounds pretty. It's not pretty. It's an overgrowth of yeast in the body. And I had it pretty bad. So once I learned what it was, then I went back to school, and I became a registered holistic nutritionist. And I've been in this field 11 years now. So I travel across Canada, and I lecture on cleansing and detoxification and gut health, because all good health starts in the gut. So tonight we're going to go through the cleansing piece. We're going to talk about the products that you guys have, which are very, very exciting. So, how many people can relate to this stuff? They've got to-do lists a mile long. They're always busy, always on the go. Their families are busy, their children are busy. So everybody's busy all the time. And then there's long working hours. So you guys have worked all day, and now you're here tonight. You've got very long working days. So that's not a lot of time for your body to relax and rest. So a lot of us might be eating nutrient-depleted foods. And our soil is just naturally nutrient-depleted from what our grandparents had maybe 50 years ago. The same nutrients are just not in the soil, it's just not there. Unless you're eating organic, in which case there's a lot more nutrients, it's more nutrient dense. But it's hard and it's expensive to get that type of food. Breakfast on the go. Maybe some of you don't even eat breakfast. Okay? Not the best way to start the day. Breakfast breaks the fast between the night and the morning. So you should be eating a good breakfast. Give your body nourishment so it gets through the day. Pollution. I don't know if it's as bad in Singapore, but when I was in Kuala Lumpur, I was on the 22nd floor. There is a lot of pollution. And so I noticed that there seems to be even more pollution. I'm from Toronto, I'm from Canada. It's not as bad, it's bad, but I was quite surprised. So pollution is not something that you can really avoid. Whether you like it or not, you're breathing this pollution in. Dehydration, that's a big problem for a lot of people. They're not drinking enough water. And in this climate, you need to drink even more water because it's hot. So you're sweating more, so you're releasing more water. So a good way to determine if you're dehydrated is just grab the top of your hand, pinch it, and pull it up. And if it bounces back very quickly, that means it's good, you've got good hydration. But if it's going down slowly, and if it's tenting and it's going down slowly, that's a sign of dehydration. It's a simple way to tell. Always plugged in. How many people check their phone when they wake up in the morning before they even get up to go to the washroom? Right? I'm guilty of that. So what I do now is I keep my phone out of the bedroom. And then it helps me relax. I also turn it into silent mode at night. So if any calls come in, I don't take it. Unless it's on my emergency list, in which case then I'd be able to hear it. But that's a great way to just shut it down for a while. Let your body rest. Let your nervous system start to relax. Processed foods. Hopefully you don't eat something like that, but a lot of us are busy. We're on the go. So we're eating processed foods. We're eating convenient foods. So maybe when you're in the grocery store, shop on the outside aisles where it's the fresh fruits, the fresh vegetables, the meats, the stuff that's good for you. The stuff on the inside of the aisles that have ingredients that you can't pronounce, they shouldn't be in your body. I remember when I was in school, my teacher said to me, if you can't pronounce it, don't put it in your body. And so when you read some of those labels, you're like, wow, what is that? And how does your body deal with it? Your body doesn't know what to do with it sometimes. So it puts it into fat cells. It's trying to protect you. Now the other thing about processed foods is that they're convenient. They're not spending enough time with your family. And that's an important part of the day, is taking that time with your loved ones to say, how was your day? And making that connection. Beauty chemicals. This is a big one. So think about this for a moment. Ladies, I'm going to pick on us for a second. Think of your routine in the morning. So you go, maybe take a shower, use body wash, you come out, you might put cream on your body, put face cream on, put makeup on, hairspray, and that's before you've even left the bathroom every day. And perfume. Perfume's a big one. And the beauty industry and the perfume industry, they are not regulated. So there's a lot of chemicals in these products that we don't even know. We don't even know what they are. And they're pretty scary. There's a database called Skin Deep, and it's out of the United States, and it's from the Environmental Working Group. And on this Skin Deep database, it will tell you what ingredients are and what they do in the body. So it's a really good way to determine whether what you're using on your body is going to be safe or not. So it's a really great website because there's a lot of good alternatives out there. Household chemicals is another big one. And they say, I know in the United States and in Canada, they say that the inside of your house is more toxic than the outside of your house. And that's because of the flame retardants on the couch or on the carpet, or the chemicals that we're using within our homes. So one of the things that you can do is have plants in your homes. They will filter the air, just like trees do in our atmosphere. Have plants, things like ferns, those types of things. They work really well, philodendrons. Those types of plants are really good at filtering the air. Too much caffeine. I think a lot of us survive on caffeine. So that can be toxic to the body. And it will affect every one of your body systems. So it's one of the things that you might want to step back and say, okay, maybe I've got too much coffee or too much tea, caffeinated tea in my diet, and switch it over. There's lots of good herbal teas. You could have flavored water, with cucumbers and lemons and stuff like that. That's a much, much better way to hydrate. And it's not going to keep your body stimulated all the time. Insomnia. Insomnia is a really big one because of our electronic devices. Okay, we're staying on them until we go to bed, and our brains are stimulated. So if you've got an iPhone, there is part of the operating system, if you swipe it up from the bottom, it's got night shift, I think it is. And you can set it to filter out the blue light so it doesn't stimulate your brain. And you can set it to go, mine is at 7 at night till 7 in the morning. And so if I happen to be looking at my phone, it's not going to stimulate my brain. The same thing can be done on your laptop or your computer, your home computer, and it's called Flux, F-L-U-X. And that's something you can download. And then if you are on the computer, it's not going to keep your brain waves all stimulated and hyper. The other thing you shouldn't do is watch the news before you go to bed. That can be really depressing. So ideally, this is how we should be living. You know, where we're growing our own food, we're together with family, there's no electronic devices in sight. This is ideally what we should be doing. But this is the reality, right? And I see it all the time. I see it back home in Canada, and I've seen it here. People go out for meals, they're sitting together, and they're not looking at each other. They're looking at their phones, right? So this is how we are living a lot. And look at the poor girl eating her chicken nuggets. Not getting a lot of nutrition. So the question isn't whether we are toxic, it's how toxic are we? I think we all are to some degree. I've been doing this for 11 years, and I cleanse every single year, and every time I cleanse, I always get more energy. So even though I eat organic, I do all the right things, I still get bogged down by some of those toxins that I'm exposed to on a regular basis. So in the last 50 years, the global production of chemicals and the use of these chemicals has escalated to 80,000. 80,000. So things that our grandparents were not exposed to at all. So there's about 300 to 500 chemicals in the average person's body that were not present before 1920. And this is found through the blood. And here's a very, very scary thing. They test the umbilical fluid of babies before they're even born, before they've taken their first breath, and they're testing over 200 chemicals. So it's coming from the mother. So you cannot cleanse when you're pregnant or breastfeeding. But if you plan on becoming pregnant, you can cleanse beforehand and wait 3 months for any of the herbs to wash out of your body. So that's a really good thing to have in mind. And when I very first heard that, it was years ago, and it was when I was sitting down in an audience. And when she told me that, I started crying. I couldn't believe that these babies that are being born are pre-polluted. They're already polluted. So there are over 75,000 synthetic chemicals on the market, and the synthetic chemicals really wreak havoc on your hormones. And they're the ones that are causing the higher rates of cancer, especially breast cancer. And according to some experts, or some reports, at death the human body decomposes more slowly now than it did 30 years ago. And this is because of all those preservatives, all of those things that we are consuming in our food. So think about that for a second. You know? So back in the day, does anybody know what a Twinkie is? A Twinkie is this cake. So some people know what it is. It's like a cake, a little cake. And it's like yellow and it's got some cream inside. And when it was first done, I think they made it in the 30s. There was only 8 ingredients. And now there's over 35. And that is so it can be shelf stable. Now imagine what that's doing, these preservatives. You know, they're preserving our bodies. And not in a good way. So how are we exposed to toxins? One of the big ones is plastics. We are surrounded by plastic. And plastic has phthalates in them. They also have BPA or bisphenol A. And those things, again, are hormone disruptors. So there's a big link between these types of things and cancer. The chemicals in the cosmetics. I've been through so many shopping malls here. They are everywhere. And you see and smell all of the perfumes that are around. Those aren't natural smelling. So those are, again, synthetic chemicals. So we're getting it through our cosmetics and our household products, as I mentioned earlier. The chemicals in our food, the modern food production contains a lot of allergy-inducing things. So a lot of people, you wonder why so many people are allergic to peanuts now. So many people are allergic to dairy now. And it's because it's not what it used to be in wheat. It's not what it used to be back in the day when we first started, processing these foods. We started having problems with them. And of course, the one that we're most obviously aware of is the air and water exposure. So we can't escape that. So a lot of people, filtered water is a great way to ensure that you've got good, clean water sources. And with the air, having filtration systems where you live or having plants in your home can really help with that. So there's two ways that toxicity can occur. The first one is inside our body, endotoxins, toxins that are produced within us. And so the first reason that happens is impaired digestion. So if we're not digesting our foods properly, then we've got compounds that are left over that cause gas, they cause bloating, and they're causing other problems within the body, heartburn, those types of things, which leads to digestive toxins. So now you have these toxins that are being produced by this undigested food, and then your body's like, okay, what do I do with this? Where do I put it? Which leads to something called candida and parasites. So that's the reason I'm here today. Candida is an overgrowth of yeast in the body. So candida craves things like sugar. It feeds on sugar. So my cravings were off the chart. So when people tell me I'm feeling like this and I've always got cravings and I've got brain fog and they're telling me all these symptoms, I'm like, oh, you might have candida. And then parasites. I've had parasites more than once. So parasites can do a lot of damage in the body as well. And they're fairly easy to pick up, especially in tropical regions where they just thrive in this type of weather. And that all leads to something called leaky gut. Has anybody heard of leaky gut? Yeah, some people have, so that's great. I'm really glad that people are becoming aware of it. So leaky gut is when you have holes in your intestinal tract. So think of your intestinal tract like a screen on a window. So it lets the good air into the house and it keeps the bad bugs out. Well, what happens with leaky gut is when you have holes in your intestinal tract, whether from candida, from parasites, from eating foods you're allergic to all the time, or constipation, you have these little holes in your intestinal tract, and now you have things that can seep into your bloodstream. So that could be undigested proteins, it could be candida, parasites, bad bacteria, undigested food, and then what happens is the body starts viewing it as a foreign invader and it attacks. And over time, it attacks and attacks and attacks, and then it leads to chronic disease like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, what's the other big one? Rheumatoid arthritis. And those would all be those chronic diseases. So a lot of healthcare practitioners believe that leaky gut is the cause of a lot of these other issues. So going back and healing the gut is very important. And then we have exotoxins. And exotoxins are from outside of the body. So that would be those chemical toxins, the air pollution, the plastics, and the xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens is another way of saying fake estrogens. So xenoestrogens kind of look like a regular estrogen molecule, and they will fit into where they're supposed to go. But the xenoestrogens look kind of the same, and they will take the spot of that regular estrogen. So now you've got extra estrogen in your body, and where does it go? And it's causing hormonal disruptions. So children are being born hermaphrodites, or they're growing breast tissues much faster than they normally would, the girls. Men are growing breast tissue, and this is all a sign that there's too many hormones in their body. And it's coming from the plastics. So heating food in plastics is really bad because what that does is it leaches these xenoestrogens into your food and then you're eating it. So think about that the next time. You put something in the microwave, put a paper towel or something else over it instead. So there's a big connection between the liver, the gut, and the brain. and toxicity and how they all affect each other. So we'll talk about the liver for a second because this is your largest detoxification organ. This is the one that does the most work in your body. It does over 500 things. It makes hormones. It makes and detoxes a lot of the hormones actually. It makes the hormones and it detoxifies them. It makes 80% of your cholesterol, makes most of your enzymes, except the pancreas, it makes some other digestive enzymes. So it's a very, very, very busy organ, and we need to support it on a regular basis. Then we have the brain. And a lot of people think, well, you know, what does that have to do with toxicity in the gut? Well, what happens is if the gut has the holes in it, the leaky gut, it can lead to leaky brain. Those toxins can cross the blood-brain barrier. And that can lead to things like depression, anxiety, maybe Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, anything that is allowing those toxins into the brain. And then, of course, the gut. A lot of problems happen and start in the gut. And it's when we're not digesting our foods properly, or we're eating foods that we're allergic to that are causing these problems. And then when you have the holes in the intestinal tract, then those toxins can go anywhere in the body, not just the brain. They could go anywhere. So everybody in this room could have leaky gut and show it differently because the toxins are going to go to the area of greatest weakness. So some people, you know, they might find that their nose is stuffy all the time. My nose is stuffy because I have a cold. But sometimes they get like a stuffy nose or they might get a rash. Some people might get that tired, anxiety, depressed feeling. And again, that could be the leaky brain. So we'll start off with the liver. Our poor liver, it does so much for us. So hormonal imbalance, cholesterol, estrogen, they increase when there's more toxicity present. So when you're under stress, there's more cortisol that is produced. And when there's more cortisol produced, that's when you tend to put more weight on in the middle. I couldn't understand when my dad was passing and I was taking care of him. I couldn't understand why I just was gaining weight like crazy. And it turned out that I wasn't eating anymore. I was probably eating less, but my cortisol levels were so high. And that's what was causing that problem. So stress will create that cortisol response and create you to make more cortisol. So hormonal imbalance when there's more toxins in the liver. Cholesterol, increased cholesterol, high cholesterol. So the liver makes 80% of your cholesterol. So when it's not functioning properly, then your cholesterol levels might be a bit high. So a lot of people are looking at their diet and saying, oh, I should cut this out and I should cut that out. When in fact, maybe they should be supporting their liver because that's probably where it's starting. And all hormones are produced from cholesterol. So again, it's throwing off your hormones in a whole separate way. And a lot of people think that cholesterol is a bad thing. Cholesterol itself is actually not bad. Cholesterol, what it does is when there's inflammation in the body, it goes to the site of inflammation and helps try to heal it. But when there's too much inflammation in the body, you produce too much cholesterol. And the small one, the LDL, that's the one that gets into the bloodstream and causes high cholesterol and what causes heart disease. So cholesterol itself is not bad. It's trying to tell you, if you've got high cholesterol, it's trying to say, there's something going on. There's inflammation in the body, and you need to take care of it. And if you have high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure, you are on the road to heart disease. There's no question about it. So if those are things that you're aware of within yourself or people that you know, start looking at lifestyle changes. It's really important. Now, signs and symptoms of a malfunctioning liver, a liver that's a little sluggish, one of the biggest ones is headache, constant fatigue, gas and bloating, believe it or not, is also related to the fact that your liver's not functioning properly. Your bile, you're not producing enough bile, or you might be producing too much bile, so you're not breaking down your fats properly. So these are all signs and symptoms of issues with your liver. Metabolism. Liver is your #1 fat-burning organ. So if your metabolism is down, if your liver's overloaded, your metabolism is down, you're going to have problems getting the weight off if that's one of the things you're trying to do. Increased inflammation, so the C-reactive protein is elevated, so inflammation in the body. And then of course, elevated liver enzymes. And one of the biggest reasons for that is too much sugar in our diet. So too much sugar in our diet creates toxins that are so toxic to the liver that it actually converts the toxins to something that's still toxic but not as bad and causes things like fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic cirrhosis, so there's no alcohol involved. But it's causing these diseases because of the sugar. So that's something you might want to look at if that's an issue you're dealing with. Next we have the gut. So when the gut has a lot of toxicity going on, you can have increased yeast, bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites. Your happy hormone production starts to go down, that's glutathione. So, no, sorry, it's not, serotonin, I'm sorry. Serotonin. Serotonin, 80% of your serotonin is produced in your gut, not in your brain. So a lot of research is being done right now behind probiotics and to balance the gut bacteria and to get the good hormone, the happy hormone production going again to balance the depression that's happening in the brain. So a lot of really interesting research coming out. Signs and symptoms of a malfunctioning gut. Biggest ones, probably gas and bloating. You know, every time you eat. Heartburn, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea. These are all signs that the gut is just off balance. Your nutrient absorption goes down. So if you're not digesting your foods properly, your body's just not getting the nutrients that it needs to work properly. Your gut inflammation is going to go up. So things like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, colitis, any sort of inflammation in the gut area. You're going to have a decrease in digestive enzymes. So your body's just not making enough enzymes to break down the food that you're eating, which of course is going to lead to more gas and bloating. And then we lead it back to leaky gut again. Everything comes back to the gut. So all of these things are happening, you're probably going to end up with leaky gut. Now the brain, the signs and symptoms of a leaky brain is having the brain fog or having anxiety or depression, especially if you're someone that doesn't normally have that happen and all of a sudden it's starting to gradually get worse. You might want to look at the fact that leaky brain is going on and look back to the gut. Your stress response goes up. So you're responding to things more quickly and in a stressful way. Brain inflammation. So there's some diseases that are related to inflammation in the brain. And of course, any toxins that are getting into the brain are going to cause inflammation because the body's trying to protect you. And then decrease in the immune system. So the immune system is controlled in the brain, but most of it is in the gut. 70 to 80% of your immune system is in the gut. So there's a big connection again between the gut and the brain. And the thing that connects it all is the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is on the back of your head, and it kind of goes throughout the body. So it'll affect the liver, the stomach, the kidneys, and the gut. So again, I speak to you from personal experience. One of the things that was happening to me is I was having problems with my stomach. I was always feeling nauseous. I wasn't breaking down my food properly. I could see food was in my stool, so I knew I was not breaking down my food properly. I was urinating all the time. All the time. It was constant. And so I went to my naturopath and I explained all the things, and it turned out my vagus nerve wasn't working properly. So he gave me bitters. He told me to gargle really, really hard, and what that does, it stimulates the vagus nerve. And then I got better. So I never would have thought in a million years to connect those things together, but it was the vagus nerve. So I love this slide. I don't know how well you can see it. But what happens when toxins come into the body? They're either going to come in through the lungs, the skin, or through the intestinal tract, the gut. And then every single thing, whether you eat it, breathe it, or drink it, it's going to be filtered through the liver. So I wrote a few things down because I want to explain what the liver does. I want to be a little more scientific and detailed. So there's two phases of liver detoxification. The first one eliminates toxins through 50 to 100 enzymes. So that's a lot of enzymes. And they each detoxify certain chemicals. And there's overlap between them, so there's maximum detoxification. So the following steps occur in phase one. The toxins are neutralized and released into bile. Then they're made water soluble so the kidneys can excrete them through the urine. And then when necessary, the toxins are converted to a more chemically active form called active intermediaries. Now these active intermediaries are even more toxic than the original substance, so they really have to be removed from the body quickly. So active intermediaries are converted a second time where they're combined with mineral compounds, amino acids, and other biochemicals that are water soluble. So then they can be excreted through the kidneys. So phase two liver detoxification performs a process called conjugation. And that's where toxic substances are bound to other substances and are safely eliminated through the bile and also the kidneys and bladder. So that's how toxins are filtered through the liver. That's how it handles it. But what happens if it's not working properly? Okay, it should go out through the skin, the kidneys, and the colon, and the lungs. But if it's a fat-soluble toxin, it's going to be stored in the fat cells of the bone marrow, the liver, and the central nervous system. Which is why a lot of people, they're proving over and over again, there's a link between Alzheimer's and heavy metals, things like aluminum. And that's because they are going to go into the central nervous system. And fat cells, those toxins are stored in a lot of places that we don't want them. That's your body's way of protecting you. It's putting them into those fat cells so that it doesn't cause it to free flow to other organs that might cause even more damage. So your body's trying to protect you by putting in these fat cells. So if you're someone who's trying to lose a few pounds and you're having problems, one of the best things you can do is to cleanse, is to use a detox kit. Get rid of those toxins because the toxins slow down your resting metabolic rate as well. So they're working against you. Now, if they're water-soluble toxins, they're going to go into the joints, the blood, the tissues, and the muscles. And that's why some people, they're like chronically achy, all their joints are achy. If they're toxic, if they're having a lot of problems, that could be one of the reasons. So again, a cleanse for a lot of people, they'll finish their cleanse, they'll say, I don't have any pain anymore. My arthritis isn't as bad. Or, I can start to crouch down and my knees don't hurt. And that's because some of the toxins could have been stored in those joints. So things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, some of those could be the symptoms of toxicity. Allergies and sinus congestion, and that's more than just the seasonal stuff. Some people might have allergies when certain things come into bloom. These are things that could be coming from perhaps the food that you're eating, that your body's saying, this is not good for me, and you get an allergic reaction. Irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, and digestive issues. So again, the gas, the bloating, the heartburn, constipation. Pain and inflammation, that leads back to, everything that's stored into the muscles and in the joints. Mood changes. So the liver makes hormones, but it also detoxes hormones. So if your liver is not balanced, you could have a lot of hormones through your body, which can really cause problems with mood. So in Chinese medicine, anger is stored in your liver. So a lot of people who are super cranky, I might say, have you perhaps maybe thought of doing a liver cleanse or something like that? And I know when I cleanse the liver at first, I get pretty cranky. But, it takes a few days and then I feel better. And again, I just know that I'm doing my liver something really good. And then the weight gain, that's a big one. And I notice that when someone comes to me and they say, you know what, I've tried everything. I've gone to the gym, I'm working my brains out, I've done all the diets I can think of, and I can't lose weight. And then I'll say, well, have you tried doing a cleanse? And in the beginning, people will lose weight. And a lot of times, it's not weight loss, it's waste loss. Okay? They're getting rid of the waste, the excess waste that is sitting in their bodies. And so the herbs that are in the cleanses, what they do is they help get rid of these toxins in the cells. And then your body's going to start working the way it's supposed to. So most of the time, I never guarantee you're going to lose weight, but almost every time it happens. Cardiovascular disease and respiratory problems, and that's an obvious one because of what we might be exposed to in our air. I know in Canada that lung cancer is on the rise, and it's not just from smoking, it's from the environment. I think 1,600 deaths a year are related directly to air pollution in Canada. So I don't know how high it would be here, but I would think it might be pretty high. The candida and parasites, they thrive in an environment that is full of toxins. They like an acidic environment. They like sugar. If you've got candida and parasites, they will crave the sugar. They will be, you're the little puppet walking to the fridge to get something sweet to eat. They're the ones that are causing you to crave it. So when I got rid of my candida, my cravings were off the charts. I was getting up in the middle of the night to go get something sweet to eat from the store. Getting out of bed, getting dressed, in my car to go to the store. That's how bad it was. Then I got rid of the candida and I don't have the cravings anymore. So you can get over it. I know some of this might be depressing. I swear it gets better. Hormonal imbalances, again, if the liver's not working properly, your hormones are going to be out of whack. And then that leads also to acne and skin issues. So the liver is maybe your hardest working detoxification organ, but your skin is your largest. So we absorb things through the skin, but we also excrete it out of the skin. So the skin really tells you a lot. So if you're having breakouts around your mouth area, that's usually based on hormones. That's more of a hormonal thing. But if you're getting breakouts elsewhere in the body, it could be toxins trying to get out. You know, your body's got 7 organs of elimination, and that's one of them. That's the biggest one. And liver and skin are very closely connected. So once you balance the liver, a lot of times the skin will clear up. Food sensitivities, so having issues every time you eat certain foods. So wheat, dairy, and corn are the 3 biggest triggers for most people. So avoiding those foods as much as possible will help to reduce any reactions you're having to them. And then, of course, the headaches and brain fog. This is one of the biggest ones. If someone is toxic, they're probably more prone to get headaches more often. So once you do a cleanse, you might notice in the beginning you might get a few more headaches, and that's just your body's getting rid of these toxins. So you might feel a little worse before you get better. That usually only lasts a couple of days. What I tell people is increase your water and increase your fiber. What water and fiber do is they soak up and they sweep out the toxins as they're being released. So certainly it's going to help with headaches afterwards. You might realize you don't have the headaches anymore. And the brain fog, your brain is clear. You can remember things. You don't need to put sticky notes everywhere, put it in your phone all the time. So there's a few ways that you can cleanse. One of them is colon hydrotherapy. If someone is chronically constipated and they're not getting rid of their toxins properly, they're recirculating right back to the poor liver again, and it's having to deal with it all over again. And then it's getting stored in fat cells. There is a very strong correlation between breast cancer and constipation. Women are, how many times? 4 times more likely to have breast cancer if they're constipated. So that's a pretty significant number, and you realize that breast tissue is made up of fat cells. And if the toxins are being stored in fat cells, it makes sense. Saunas and steam baths. This is the most fun, relaxing way to get rid of toxins. So again, through your skin, it's a great way to get rid of toxins. Lymphatic massage. So the lymphatic system is a one-way system that goes through your body. It's a one-way valve system. So doing lymphatic massage helps to get those toxins out. Exercising is also another way to stimulate the lymphatic system because the blood uses the heart as a pump, but the lymphatic system doesn't have that. It uses body movement. So you have to be exercising on a regular basis, or you can do the lymphatic massage. Dry skin brushing, which is popular where I'm from, but you guys do scraping. It's the same type of thing. So again, you're brushing the skin, you're brushing it up towards the heart. So that's the way the valve system works, is towards the heart. And then your body will excrete it. Exercise, so good for so many things, but certainly it's going to help to get the toxins out. You're going to be sweating it out, but you're also just going to get things circulated through the lymphatic system as well. Green juicing, not juicing, because a lot of people say, oh, juice, I drink juice every day. Mango juices and pineapple juices don't count, there's too much sugar in that. So green juices. And I put in there adequate fiber as well, because once you juice it, you get rid of the fiber. And fiber is very important for cleansing, but fiber also slows down the conversion of carbohydrates to sugar in the body. So it's very, very important, especially during weight loss. One of the best things you can do is increase your fiber. And then, of course, the reason you're here tonight is herbal detoxification kits. This is a very convenient way to cleanse, and this is something you can do on an ongoing basis. And like I said, I still do it. After 11 years, I still do it religiously, and it helps me every single time. So how can the cleansing kits help? It increases bile production in the liver, and bile is something that the liver will put the toxins into the bile, it is stored in the gallbladder, and then it's sent to the colon for excretion. It will also increase peristalsis and hydration of the colon. Peristalsis is that natural Thank you, sorry. Peristalsis is the natural muscular movement of the colon. So think of it like a conveyor belt. It keeps things moving out through the body. And then it also has hydration. So hydration for the colon is very important. If you're not properly hydrated, the colon's not properly hydrated, and then it leads to constipation. Increase in urine output. So this is important to release those water-soluble toxins. An increase in blood and lymphatic circulation. So there's herbs that are specific to help with that. It helps with mucus discharge from the lungs. So you might notice that you cough a little bit more when you first start doing the cleanse, and that's normal. So there's herbs in there that are increasing the mucus discharge, so it's getting it out of your body. So don't be worried if that happens. And then of course a decrease in pathogens, so the candida, the parasites, and all those toxins that might be in the body. And it also helps reduce fat deposits in the liver and the fatty tissues. Yay, I think everybody would like that. So there's two unique formulations, and Elken has worked with detoxification experts to develop two sets of comprehensive detoxification program. And they both work synergistically together. So it is best to take them not at the same time together, but you take one and then you go on to the other, because they work hand in hand. So the first one is the DT detoxification set, and this is the full body cleanse. And the second one is the LV liver protection set, and this is something that you would take ongoing. This is something that will support your liver on a regular basis. So there's 3 easy steps in the DT set. So the first part is the DT FENS. That helps to mobilize the toxins. It helps to get them out of your organs. The second part is the DT fiber, and the fiber is very important to help to soak up and sweep out the toxins as they're being released. So it's very, very important that you have the fiber. It's key. Because if you don't have the fiber and you're not getting it out of your body, then it could be recirculating. And then the last part is the DT cleanse, and that's the elimination part. That's going to help you to eliminate it. So it's easy to take. So in the morning, when you first wake up on an empty stomach, you take part 1. So put it next to your toothbrush. If that's the first thing you do in the morning, put it next to your toothbrush. The second part you take in the middle of the day. So you can take that at any time. And then the third part you take after your dinner. So it's very, very easy. If you're a person that can't remember to take 3 things, put them in the convenient places that you are going to remember, or put an alarm on your phone, something that's going to remind you. So it works on all 7 organs of elimination. So the liver, lungs, colon, kidneys, skin, blood, and lymphatic system. It's going to get all of your organs of elimination cooperating and working together. They're all going to be working together to get rid of the toxins. So for the liver component, there's ingredients that act like a cholagogue, which promotes the discharge of bile and stimulates bile flow. And it also has ingredients to protect the liver. For the kidneys, it has ingredients that help to increase urine flow. For the lungs, it has ingredients to promote mucus secretion in the airways and helps to reduce and soothe the inflammation that might be going on in the airways and in the lungs. In the colon, it has ingredients to promote peristalsis and relieve stomach bloating and soothe the intestinal walls. So it's got anti-inflammatory ingredients. For the skin, it has an ingredient to help increase sweating, so getting it out through your skin. In the blood, it has an ingredient to help enhance blood detoxification. And then for the lymphatic system, it's got ingredients to help promote lymphatic circulation. So it's a very comprehensive kit that has all of these different herbs together. So you don't need to take a million different products. It's all very convenient in one thing that you would do 3 times a day. So 14-day comprehensive detoxification will reveal a brand new you. You'll feel so much better. Now, if someone decides, I feel great, but I could do more, you could do this for up to 3 months in a row. So it is safe to do for 3 months in a row. But after you do the DT set, you can move on to the LV set. So this is something that you would take in between when you do the DT set. So you would do the full body cleanse first, and then you would take this ongoing for the 3 months between when you're taking the DT set. You do 3 months on the LV set, and then you go again with the DT set. So this protects healthy liver functions, supports all phases of liver detoxification, which I mentioned, and assists with toxin elimination. So this is something that's really important. It's something that's going to help your liver that does all of those functions every single day. So phase 1, the detoxification. Phase 2, neutralization or conjugation. It neutralizes those molecules to create harmless water-soluble substances. And then phase 3 is the elimination. So once they are water-soluble, your body can eliminate them properly. So with the LV set, you take it the same way. You take, except there's no middle part. So the first part you take on an empty stomach, and the second part you take after your dinner. So it's going to protect the liver from toxins by providing important antioxidants and precursors. It's going to eliminate toxins by stimulating peristalsis and urine flow. And it's also going to support and provide necessary nutrients to support all of those phases of liver detoxification. So it's a very, very comprehensive liver kit. So start off with the DT set for 14 days, every 3 months, and in between you do the LV set, and it's 30 days long. So if you listen to your body when it whispers, you won't have to hear it scream. And if we did more of that, we would have less chronic disease. And that's it. Thank you.